paragraphs 4 and 6 of the Constitution,
Vietnamese court says
A court in Vietnam has sentenced
as an
In Vietnam, the law does not blink, it does not soften. And when it comes for you, it comes to kill. In this Southeast Asian nation, smuggling more than 100 grams of narcotics is not a negotiable crime. It is a death sentence, not in theory, not in words, but in cold clinical reality. Death by lethal injection. So imagine this. You are thousands of miles from home, your life hanging by a thread. Masked men waiting for the judge's final nod before they inject the chemicals that will still your heartbeat forever. No last-minute miracles, no reprieve, no appeal. That was the fate of one Kenyan daughter, Margaret Nduta, and yet, somehow, she escaped death's grip. Not freedom, not even mercy, but life. Life behind bars until her last breath in a foreign land that will never let her go. How did this happen? And why did her own family remain silent for nearly 2 years as she awaited death? Walk with me. It began on a humid July evening in 2023 at Noi Bai International Airport. Vietnamese customs officers stopped a Kenyan traveller. Her name, Margaret Nduta, 27 years old. Her suitcase, checked in under her name, concealed 2 kilograms of cocaine. For Vietnam, this wasn't just a crime. It was the gravest of offences. Within hours, she was in the custody of anti-narcotics agents and transferred to a high-security detention centre in Hanoi. The math was simple. In Vietnam, trafficking such quantities carries exactly one sentence: death. No bargaining, no alternative, no second chance. Fast forward to March 6th, 2025. After nearly 2 years in detention, she faced trial before Judge Din Ngoc Thu Hoang at the Ho Chi Minh City People's Court. Her defense? She claimed the bag was not hers, that an overseas jobs agent, a man named John, had given it to her, that she was an unwitting courier. The court didn't buy it. Evidence from her passport shattered her credibility. She had claimed she had never travelled abroad before, but her travel history told another story. Saudi Arabia, Ghana, Nigeria, and suspicious gaps, entries without exits, exits without entries, entire trips that made no sense. One glaring example. Her passport recorded an entry into Saudi Arabia with no exit record, then an entry into Ghana, again with no exit. To the court, these were red flags, proof that she was no naive traveller caught in a trap, but a seasoned courier hiding something. The verdict was swift and final: death by lethal injection. Execution date, March 17th, 2025.
Ya leo mwanamke Mkenya anatarajiwa kunyongwa nchini
Magret
Vietnam
Nduta,
baada ya
the Kenyan
kupatikana
national,
hatia.
charged with the
But as news began filtering back to Kenya, something was off. For almost 2 years since her arrest, the family had said nothing. No public plea, no media interview, no call for help. The silence was deafening, and the questions began. Were they hiding something? Did they know more than they were saying about the drugs? Or were they simply paralyzed by fear, unsure how to fight a battle on foreign soil? Whatever the reason, one fact remained. She was a Kenyan, and in Kenya there's an unshakable belief. Chetu ni chetu. Ours is ours, no matter what. Better for her to be punished at home than to die far away. And as March 17th crept closer like a runaway truck with no brakes, Kenyans held their breath. Then, something rare happened in our politically divided nation. For once, politics took a back seat. Government and opposition, enemies in every other battle, stood together. Kizi Senator Richard Onyonka wrote directly to President William Ruto, pleading for intervention. Opposition leaders, ruling party officials, and ordinary Kenyans rallied behind one cause: Save Margaret Nduta. Social media lit up with hashtags demanding her rescue. And in that moment, she was no longer just a woman facing execution abroad. She was a symbol, a Kenyan life worth uniting for. Midnight, March 16th. Just hours from her execution, President William Ruto and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi instructed Foreign Affairs Singui to call Vietnam's Deputy Foreign Minister Nguyen Minh Hang. The conversation was tense. Hang made it clear trafficking such a quantity was a capital offence. She promised nothing, only the vague words, "We will see what we can do." The next morning, March 17, execution day, the answer came. Request for a stay of execution denied. Margaret Nduta would be executed as planned.
Jioni hii ya leo mwanamke Mkenya anatarajiwa kunyongwa nchini Vietnam.
In Kenya, hope crumbled. Only hours remained. Someone had to move fast. Her name was etched in the list of those marked for execution. Her fate sealed. Her death inevitable. It was no longer a question of if, but when. And according to multiple diplomatic sources, everyone had given up hope. From President William Ruto to Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, even to Jubilee-nominated MP Sabina Chege, all of them were bracing for the worst. The country stood still, waiting for the dreaded words. The 37-year-old Kenyan national, Magret Nduta, has been executed. But just as the silence grew loud, boom. Out of nowhere, like divine timing, a call came in. A direct line to the Kenyan Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And who was calling? Get this, the Vietnamese Deputy Foreign Minister herself, Nguyen Minh Hang. Her voice on the other end changed everything. She said, and I quote, "Hi, this is Nguyen Minh Hang, the Vietnamese Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. After the stay request was rejected by the People's Court, we did not want it to cause bad blood between the Republic of Vietnam and Kenya. So, as the ministry, we sat down to find a solution that would honor our law and also create a win-win for both nations. We can stop the execution, but we must do it through the law. Use Article 367 of the 2015 Criminal Procedure Code. It states that there shall be no execution if there is a pending appeal. Trigger an appeal quickly. If you do that, the execution will be paused." That call came in on March 17, 2025. Now remember, Margaret had been sentenced back on March 6th, meaning, technically, her 7-day appeal window had expired. But here's the twist. In Vietnam, just like in many countries, that deadline only applies to local citizens. Foreign nationals, especially under diplomatic appeal or presidential clemency. They are not bound by the standard timelines. So yes, Kenya still had a legal route. Time was thin, but hope had just been reborn. Immediately, attention shifted. A critical call was placed directly to Thailand. To whom?
Lindsay Kiptines, Ambassador of Kenya to the Kingdom of Thailand.
To Mr. Kiptines Lindsay Kimwol, Kenya's ambassador to Thailand, who is also accredited to Vietnam. The message was urgent and clear. I'm paraphrasing, but here's the spirit. Move with speed, get to Vietnam, bring qualified lawyers, file that appeal immediately. And Ambassador Kimwol moved. Within hours, he landed in Vietnam with a powerful legal team, 6 top lawyers, 4 Thai nationals, 2 Vietnamese legal experts. They filed 2 crucial appeals: execution stay appeal, submitted directly to the Ho Chi Minh City People's High Court, presidential clemency appeal. submitted through the Ho Chi Minh City People's Court and meant to reach the president of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Luong Quang. But here's the catch.
Pursuant to Article 11, Section 3, Paragraphs 4 and 6 of the Constitution,
That clemency appeal was struck out. Why? Because the execution stay appeal had already been filed and accepted. According to Vietnamese law, once a stay of execution is granted through appeal, clemency becomes temporarily unnecessary. But that didn't matter. The most critical step had been taken. An active appeal was now on record. And then, the day came. March 17th, 2025. 8 names were on the list. 8 individuals scheduled to die by lethal injection. But on that cold, final list, the name Magret Nduta was missing, gone, removed. Her life spared. A single phone call, a coordinated diplomatic dance, a rapid legal strike, and above all, prayers from a united nation.
Was said to be executed today. The Ministry of...
It wasn't just a win for Kenya. It was a reminder of the power of timing, unity, and God's divine intervention. Because when it seemed like all hope was gone, a saving call came through. And it saved a life.
pursuant to Article 11,
The first rehearing began on Friday, March 21st, 2025. That day was not about verdicts, it was about instructions. Presiding Judge Tan Thanh Huang of the People's High Court in Ho Chi Minh City sat at the center of the bench. His message was clear. This will be a methodical process. The court will hear all submissions and both sides will have equal opportunity to present their positions. From that day forward, the court would witness a fierce legal duel between the Kenyan diplomatic legal team, 6 highly trained lawyers hired by the Kenyan ambassador to Thailand, H.E. Kiptinis Lindsay Kim Wol, and the Vietnamese People's Procuracy, the state body determined to uphold the death penalty imposed on March 6, 2025. The Kenyan legal team argued that the bag containing narcotics did not belong to Nduta. They pointed to inconsistencies in airport surveillance footage, handling of baggage tags, and the lack of fingerprint or DNA evidence linking her to the sealed packets of drugs. They stressed that Vietnamese law requires certainty beyond doubt for the death penalty in drug cases. And here, doubt existed. The lawyers invoked the mid-2025 amendments to Vietnam's penal code, which removed automatic death sentences for certain drug trafficking cases. They argued that judicial discretion now allowed life imprisonment in cases where there were mitigating factors, such as contested possession and foreign nationality. They framed this as an opportunity for Vietnam to show alignment with evolving international human rights norms. They argued that the government of Kenya had formally requested clemency on humanitarian grounds, citing Nduta's age, 27, lack of prior criminal record, and the devastating impact her execution would have on Kenya-Vietnam relations. They urged the court to view her as a possible victim of a trafficking syndicate, not as a hardened drug trafficker. Finally, the team requested that Nduta be repatriated to Kenya to serve any sentence under Kenyan law. They cited UN protocols on prisoner transfer and existing bilateral cooperation frameworks between Kenya and Vietnam. The Procuracy reminded the court that under Vietnamese law, anyone found with narcotics exceeding the statutory thresholds faces the death penalty, unless there is overwhelming proof they were unaware of the drugs. They argued that airport evidence clearly linked the seized luggage to Nduta's travel itinerary and boarding records. They dismissed the Kenyan claim about the bag's ownership as unsubstantiated. The Procuracy said that every traveller bears responsibility for their own baggage and that Nduta failed to raise any complaint about lost or switched luggage until after her arrest. Regarding the request to transfer Nduta to Kenya, the Procuracy strongly objected. Vietnamese law is sovereign on Vietnamese soil. The crime was committed here. The punishment will be served here. No foreign government dictates our criminal justice process. They insisted that drug trafficking is a major national threat and that reducing penalties could embolden traffickers. They urged the court to send a clear message by upholding the original sentence. Over the course of 4 months of hearings and mentions, both sides refined their arguments. The final hearing took place on Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. 2 days later, July 31st, 2025, the court would deliver its ruling. On the day of judgment, the courtroom was tense. Every word from the bench carried the weight of life or death. Judge Huang's gavel tapped once and silence fell. He acknowledged that recent penal code amendments now gave judges the power to replace death sentences with life imprisonment in certain cases. While the law was still strict, the reforms were meant to balance justice with humanity. He cited Nduta's young age, lack of criminal history, and the possibility, however small, that she may have been manipulated by organized traffickers. He noted that Kenya had made unprecedented diplomatic interventions, and that while sovereignty would not be compromised, Vietnam recognized the importance of maintaining constructive relations with friendly nations. He firmly rejected the request to send Nduta to Kenya, saying, "The offence was committed under Vietnamese jurisdiction. Sentencing is the prerogative of this court. International protocols on prisoner transfers apply only after sentencing is served in part under our laws." He concluded that execution was not necessary to achieve justice in this case, and that life imprisonment would adequately punish the crime while reflecting Vietnam's evolving legal philosophy. Judge Huang leaned forward, his voice steady but deliberate. The court, having considered all arguments, legal reforms, mitigating circumstances, and the interests of justice, hereby sets aside the death sentence imposed on March 6, 2025. The sentence is commuted to life imprisonment. The accused shall serve her sentence within the Vietnamese correctional system. A murmur swept through the courtroom. For Nduta, the noose was gone, but freedom was still a lifetime away. For Kenya, it was a diplomatic victory. For Vietnam, it was a show of legal sovereignty tempered with judicial mercy. Yes, her life has been spared. But the painful truth remains. Margaret Nduta will live out her days thousands of miles away, in a foreign land where the faces of her loved ones may only come through a screen, if at all. Her only child will grow up without the warmth of her embrace. The laughter, the tears, the milestones, all will be witnessed from behind cold prison walls. And this is where we remind you, freedom is far greater than money. You can replace wealth. You can recover lost property. But once your freedom is taken away, the world becomes nothing but cold walls, locked doors, a single beam of sunlight through iron bars. Movement becomes a privilege, and the air outside becomes a memory. My friends, protect your freedom at all costs. The temptations you face out here may seem harmless at the moment, but when the price is your freedom, the regret is unbearable. Many only understand this when it's too late, when they are already behind bars, when prayers replace their ambitions, when they get born again, because there's nothing else left to hold on to. From all of us here at LifeLens TV to Magret Nduta, may you find the strength to endure the years ahead, knowing that your life was worth saving. And to your family, hold on to faith, because sometimes hope travels further than any airplane ticket ever could. And that is how it all unfolded. The day Margaret Nduta's life was spared. If this story touched you, like this video, share it with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to LifeLens TV for more investigative stories like this one. On behalf of myself and the entire LifeLens TV crew who worked to bring you this episode, it's goodbye for now.